Death in prehistoric times. In the prehistoric era, spanning from 3 million years ago to 5000 BC, death was constant, merciless, and completely natural. There were no laws, no shelters, no medicine. Every single day, you had to hunt to stay alive, but any hunt could be your last. At cold, foggy dawn, early humans would emerge from their caves clutching wooden spears, their bodies gaunt, their eyes wild with fear and determination. A single rustling in the bushes was all it took. The tiger would leap from its ambush. Its fangs would sink into flesh and neck. Bones would snap. Blood would spray across the snow. Nature in that era was a ruthless executioner. Floods, lightning strikes, starvation, or deadly cold, any of these could wipe out entire generations in a single night. If the fire went out, lives went out with it. If you got injured, there was no medicine, no one to help. Infection would consume you within days. In this world, humans were just another animal, weaker than most, but with a more stubborn will to survive. Death took children, claimed the elderly in silence, and struck down hunters just when they thought they'd won. The body would be left where it fell, waiting for night creatures to feed. By morning, only bloodstains on the earth remained. Death in ancient times. In the ancient world, from 3000 BC to 500 BC, in Egypt, Greece, Mesopotamia, or India, death was part of the cosmic order, but the path of death was never easy. In ancient Egypt, the bodies of the dead were mummified so the soul could return to them. Pharaohs were entombed in stone chambers with jewels, amulets, and eternal provisions. Their souls had to pass the weighing of the heart. Their heart would be measured against the feather of Ma'at, the goddess of justice. If it was heavier, a monster called Ammit would devour it, destroying them forever. But if it was light, their soul would walk in the eternal green fields of paradise. In ancient Greece, death was a journey through darkness into the depths of the earth. The soul would cross the river Styx, carrying a coin in its mouth to pay Charon, the ferryman of the dead. Those without a coin would wander the shores forever, neither alive nor dead. And beyond the river, each person's fate was written by the gods themselves. Heroes went to Elysium, while the wicked were tortured in Tartarus. In the East, in China and India, death was an endless cycle. The soul would return in new bodies again and again until it was freed from suffering. But the fear of being forgotten was universal across all these beliefs, so every civilization built massive monuments for their dead, pyramids, tombs, temples, because as long as your name is spoken, you haven't truly died. In the ancient world, the fate of death was written by the hands of the gods themselves. Death in the classical era. In the classical age, from 500 BC to 500 AD, the era of Athens' glory, Rome's power, and Alexandria's wisdom, death became a philosophy. For the first time, humans thought about it, debated it, and tried to understand it. In Greece, Socrates, the great philosopher, drank the cup of hemlock with a smile, believing the soul was eternal and death was merely separation from the body. But in Rome, gladiators fought in the Colosseum to 70,000 of spectators. Blood splashed on the sand, and the crowd's roar grew louder with each strike. Roman soldiers died on battlefields from Spain to Syria. For them, dying in service of the empire was an honor. In temples and homes, people made sacrifices to the gods. They believed only death could calm the gods' anger. Sometimes humans, sometimes animals, and sometimes even heroes were sacrificed in the name of order and power. Death in medieval times. In the Middle Ages, from 500 AD to 1500 AD, death equaled war, plague, torture, and blind faith consumed hundreds of lives every day. On the battlefield, knights in heavy armor and massive swords clashed with brutal force. A single blow was enough to shatter bone and crush bodies. If you survived battle, you'd likely die from infection. There was no medicine. Every wound was a death sentence. In the villages, people feared disease more than the devil himself. The Black Death swept from east to west across Europe, wiping out more than half the population. In castles and churches, torture was performed in the name of purifying the soul. Iron devices, whips, and flames were used in God's name. Witch trials sent hundreds of women to the flames. They screamed their innocence, but the crowds prayed and watched. In the north, in the cold and bloody lands of Scandinavia, death took on a mythical form. Vikings executed their enemies with a ritual called the blood eagle, splitting open the back, pulling out the lungs, and hanging them like eagle wings. For them, this death symbolized courage and was a path to Valhalla. Death in the Victorian era. The 19th century was an age of progress and smoke. Gears turned, chimneys blackened the sky. In the factories, children and women worked for hours in polluted air and confined spaces. One mistake was all it took for the gears to crush flesh and bone. If you survived, infection, pneumonia, or chronic exhaustion would eventually kill you. In the streets, beggars, the sick, and the homeless died beside the carriages of the aristocracy. Cholera and tuberculosis spread through the smoke and fog. Women died in childbirth or from mercury-based medicines, men from work-related diseases, and children from poverty. Factories, hospitals, and even homes all consumed humans mercilessly. By the end of the century, with electricity, science, and medicine, people imagined they had conquered death, but death had merely changed its face. Death in the modern era. In the digital age, in a corner of Asia, a 28-year-old gamer plays for 3 nights straight, so immersed in the virtual world that his body forgets to breathe and he dies from dehydration. In tiny apartments, office workers collapse at their desks from overwork. Heart attacks, strokes, malnutrition, and severe mental pressure claim them one by one. In the West, people who can't escape loneliness slip into eternal sleep with sedatives and pills. On the highways, cars collide at 100 kilometers per hour, and in seconds, all the dreams of a lifetime turn to smoke. In modern warfare, death comes from a distance, with a drone, a click, a thermal image.